Hey, what's up you guys? It's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Comment down below what you guys want to see in the future. Click that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on my post notifications. That way you lovely people get notified every single time I upload a video. In today's video, we're going to go into One of Us is Lying, Chapter 3, Part 2. So, let's get right into this. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, please click off of the video now. You have been warned. Cooper, Thursday, September 27th, 12:45 p.m. Excuse me, will I see you tonight? Keely takes my hand as we walk to our lockers after lunch, looking up at me with huge dark eyes. Her mom is Swedish and her dad's Filipino, and the combination makes Keely the most beautiful girl in school by a lot. I haven't seen her much this week between baseball and family stuff, and I can tell she's getting antsy. Keely's not a clinger exactly, but she needs a regular couple time. Not sure, I say. I'm pretty behind on homework. Her perfect lips curve down, and I can tell she's about to protest when a voice floats over the loudspeaker. Attention, please. Would Cooper Clay, Nate McCauley, Adeline Prentice, and Browen Rohays please report to the main office? Cooper Clay, Nate McCauley, Adelaide Prentice, and Browen Rohays to the main office. Keely looks around like she's expecting an explanation. What's this about? Something to do with Simon? I guess, I shrug. I already answered questions from Principal Gupta a couple of days ago about what happened during detention, but maybe she's gearing up for another round. My father says Simon's parents are pretty connected around town, and the school should be worried about a lawsuit if it turns out that they were negligent in any way. Better go. I'll talk to you later, okay? I give Keely a quick kiss on the cheek, shoulder my backpack, and we head down the hall. When I get to the principal's office, the receptionist points me toward a small conference room. That's already crowded with people. Principal Gupta, Addie, Browen, Nate, and a police officer. My throat gets a little dry as I take the last empty chair. Cooper. Good. Now we can get started. Principal Gupta folds her hands in front of her and looks around the table. I'd like to introduce Officer Hank Budapest with the Bayview Police Department. He has some questions about what you witnessed on Monday. Officer Budapest shakes each of our hands in turn. He's young but already balding, with sandy hair and freckles, not very intimidating authority-wise. Nice to meet you all. This shouldn't take long, but after speaking with the Keller family, we want to take a closer look at Simon's death. Autopsy's results came back this morning and... Already? Browen interrupts, earning a look from Principal Gupta that she doesn't notice. Don't those usually take longer? Preliminary results can be available within a couple of days, Officer Budapest says. There was fairly conclusive showing that Simon died from a large dose of peanut oil ingested shortly before death, which his parents found strange considering how careful he was with what his food and drink. All of you told Principal Gupta that Simon drank a cup of water just before he collapsed. Is that right? We all nod, and Officer Budapest continues. The cup contained traces of peanut oil, so it seems clear Simon died from that drink. What we're trying to figure out now is how peanut oil could have gotten into his cup. Nobody speaks. Addie meets my eyes and then cuts hers away, a small frown creasing her forehead. Does anyone remember where Simon got the cup from? Officer Budapest prompts, poising his pen over a blank notebook in front of him. I wasn't paying any attention, Browen says. I was writing my assignment. Me too, Addie says, although I could have sworn she hadn't even started. Nate scratches and stares at the ceiling. I remember. I volunteer. He got the cup from a stack next to the sink. Was the stack upside down or right side up? Upside down, I say. Simon pulled the top one off. Did you notice any liquid leave the cup when he did that? Did it shake? I think back. No, he just filled it with water. And then he drank it? Yeah, I say, but Browen corrects me. No, she says, not right away. He talked for a while, remember? She turns to Nate. He asked you if you put the cell phones in our backpacks, the ones that got us in trouble with Mr. Avery. The cell phones, right. Officer Budapest scratches something down in his notebooks. He didn't say it like a question, but Browen explains anyway. Somebody played a prank on us, she says. It's why we were in detention. Mr. Avery found phones in our backpacks that didn't belong to us. She turns to Principal Gupta with an injured expression. It really wasn't fair. I've been meaning to ask if there's something that goes on your permanent record. Nate rolls his eyes. It wasn't me. Someone stuck a phone in my backpack, too. Principal Gupta furrows her brow. This is the first time I'm hearing about this. I shrug when she meets my eyes. Those phones were the last thing on my mind these past few days. Officer Budapest doesn't look surprised. Mr. Avery mentioned that when I met with him earlier. He said none of the kids ever claimed the phone, so he thought it must have been a prank after all. He slides his pen between his index and middle fingers and taps it rhythmically against the table. Is that the sort of joke Simon might have played on all of you? I don't see why, Addie says. There was a phone in his backpack too. Besides, I barely knew him. You were on junior prom court with him, Browen points out. Addie blinks like she's only just remembering that's true. And any of you kids ever have trouble with Simon? Officer Budapest asks. I've heard about the app he made. About that, right? He's looking at me, so I nod. You guys ever been on it? Everyone shakes their head except for Nate. Lots of times, he says. What for? Officer Budapest asks. Nate smirks. Stupid shit. He starts, but Principal Gupta cuts him off. Language, Mr. Macaulay. Stupid stuff, Nate amends. Hooking up mostly. Did that bother you, being gossiped about? Not really. He looks like he means it. I guess being on a gossip app isn't a big deal compared to getting arrested. If that's true, Simon never posted it, so nobody seems to know exactly what Nate's deal is. Kind of pathetic how Simon was our most trusted news source. Officer Budapest looks at the rest of us. But not you three? We all shake our heads again. Did you ever worry about ending up on Simon's app? Feel like you had something hanging over your heads or anything like that? Not me, I say, but my voice isn't as confident as I would have liked. I glance away from the Officer Budapest and catch Addie and Browen looking like polar opposites. Addie's gone pale as a ghost and Browen's flushed brick red. Nate watches them for a few seconds, tilts his chair back and looks at Officer Budapest. Everybody's got secrets, he says. Right. My workout routine goes long that night, but my dad makes everyone wait until I'm done so we can eat dinner together. My brother Lucas clutches his stomach and staggers to the table with a long-suffering look when we finally sit down at 7. The topic of conversation the same as it's been all week. Simon, you had to figure the police get involved at some point, Pop says, spooning a small mountain of mashed potatoes onto his plate. Something's not right about how that boy died, he snorts. Peanut oil in the water system, maybe? Lawyers are going to have a field day with that. Were his eyes bulging out of his head like this? Asks Lucas, making a face. He's 12, and Simon's death is nothing but a video game gore to him. My grandmother reaches and swats Lucas on the back of his hand. Noni's barely 5 feet tall with a head full of tight white curls, but she means business. Hush your mouth unless you can speak of that poor young man with respect. Noni's lived with us since we moved here from Mississippi 5 years ago. It surprised me that she came along. Our grandfather had been dead for years, but she had plenty of friends and clubs that kept her busy. Now that we lived here for a while, I get it. Our basic colonial cost 3 times what our house in Mississippi did, and there's no way we could afford it without Noni's money. But you can play baseball year-round in Bayview, and it's got one of the best high school programs in the country. At some point, Pop expects I'll make this gigantic mortgage and the job he hates worthwhile. I might. After my fastball improved by 5 miles an hour over the summer, I ended up 4th on ESPN's predictions for the June MLB draft for next year. I'm getting scouted by a lot of colleges too and wouldn't mind heading there first, but baseball's not the same as football or basketball. If a guy can head for the minors right out of high school, he usually does. Pop points to me with his knife. You got a showcase game Saturday, don't forget. As if I could, the schedule's posted around the whole house. Kevin, maybe 1 weekend off, my mother murmurs, but her heart's not in it. She knows it's a losing battle. Best thing Cooperstown can do is business as usual, Pop says. Slacking off won't bring that boy back. God rest his soul. Noni's small, bright eyes settle on me. I hope you realize none of you kids could have done anything for Simon. Cooper, the police have to dot their I's and cross their T's, that's all. I don't know about that. Officer Budapest kept asking me about the missing EpiPens and how long I was by myself in the nurse's office, almost like he thought I might have done something with them before Mrs. Grayson got there, but he didn't come out and say it. If he thinks someone messed with Simon, I'm not sure why he isn't looking at Nate. If anybody asked me, which they didn't, I'd wonder how a guy like Nate even knew about EpiPens in the first place. We've just finished clearing the table when the doorbell rings, and Lucas sprints for the door, hollering, I'll get it. A few seconds later, he yells again, It's Keely! Noni rises to her feet with difficulty, using the skull topped cane Lucas picked out last year when she faced up to the fact that she couldn't walk on her own anymore. Thought you said you two didn't have plans tonight, Cooper. We didn't, I mutter as Keely enters the kitchen with a smile, wrapping her arms around my neck in a tight hug. How are you? She murmurs in my ear, her soft lips brushing my cheek. I've been thinking about you all day. Okay, I say. She pulls back and reaches into her pocket, briefly flashing a cellophane packet and a smile. Red Vines, which are definitely not part of my nutritional regimen, but my favorite candy in the world. The girl gets me, and my parents, who require a few minutes of polite conversation before they head out for their bowling league. My phone chimes and I pull it out of my pocket. Hey, handsome. I duck my head to hide the grin that's suddenly tugging at my mouth, and text back, hey, can I see you tonight? Bad time. Call you later. Okay, miss you. Keely's talking to my mother, her eyes bright with interest. She's not faking it. Keely isn't only beautiful, she's what Noni calls sugar all the way through. A generally sweet girl every guy at Bayview wishes he were me. I miss you too. That is the end of chapter 3. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!